What is going on? What's going on, everybody? Hopefully, everybody is feeling good, feeling great, guys. We are here to talk some Mets baseball. We're here to do this quick video, real quick. Man, the Mets are making moves. They are, firing coaches and they're firing their whole coaching staff, except for first baseman coach Antoine Richardson. And Antoine Richardson is a guy that, to me, Antoine Richardson is a guy that did a great job with Juan Soto, great did job with the Mets, and we got a lot of stolen bases this year for the Mets. They were one of the best teams in robbing stolen bases. So what a job, honestly, the New York Mets have done. But man, this is good news that the Mets are firing the coaching staff because we know that the Mets did not have a successful season. We know that it did not go well. So that is why we want the Mets to have a better season. We want the Mets to have some new faces, some fresh voices, some different things. And to me, man, I feel like when it comes to the Mets, that's what we all want. We want to be successful. And how are they going to be successful? How are they going to get there? It looks like David Stearns is putting right away, like, you know what? These guys, the coaching staff is gone, except for everybody except for Antoine Richardson. And that includes Jeremy Hefner. That includes Eric Chavez. That includes Jeremy Barnes. That includes Mark Sarbo. That includes, John Gibbons as well, who is stepping down. So when it comes to that situation, it's something that had to happen. It had to happen. There's no way they could have brought back this coaching staff and run it back with this coaching staff. So I'm happy that this happened. And now let's get into what I want to get into here. Jeremy Hefner, guys, to me, this is a very surprising move for the New York Mets because this guy is a guy that spent so much time in the organization, the Mets organization, Jeremy Hefner, a guy that was a player in the Mets organization as well. But he spent 6 seasons, guys, as the pitching coach since 2019. And I know that the pitching has not gone well for the New York Mets lately. It's been walking a lot of guys. You've seen the collapse of David Peterson. You've seen the collapse of Senga, of Sean Manaea, of all these pitchers that weren't really successful down the line. And you could talk about Jeremy Hefner, and maybe he's not the right man for the job, but this guy has so much experience right now. So I don't know if this was the right move, but I think this is a move that the Mets needed to make. They needed to make this move for themselves, for the organization, to get away from this old regime. And Jeremy Hefner, credit to Jeremy Hefner, even being with so many regimes. I feel like when it comes to Jeremy Hefner, he's done an amazing job overall with the Mets. I mean, not an amazing job, but he's done a pretty good job overall. But now it's done. It's done, guys. The Mets are getting rid of this guy. And when it comes to the Mets pitching lab and all that stuff that you want to talk about with David Stearns, Jeremy Hefner, that was a big thing. Jeremy Hefner was a big guy in the pitching lab, supposedly. So now, is the pitching lab done? Like, what's going to happen to this supposedly pitching lab? I don't know. But I think this is a move that it needed to be made. It needed to be made. And I'm not surprised by the move, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised by the move because this guy has spent 6 seasons as the pitching coach since 2019. So I thought this guy was gonna stay. I thought they were gonna fire the other guys and keep Jeremy Hefner because Jeremy Hefner is well respected. That's a guy that a lot of people like in the organization. So, but it is what it is, guys. We are moving on to a new pitching coach, hopefully, and I think whoever gets the job, I hope they do a good job. That's all I can truly hope for. But yeah, guys, and I like Jeremy Hefner, but it's time to move on. It is time to move on. And then I want to get into what I really want to get into here, and that is the Mets firing their hitting coaches, guys. The Mets firing their hitting coaches. They fired Eric Chavez. They fired Jeremy Barnes, and they are finally gone. Are the Met fans happy? Are you guys happy? Are you guys happy? Because I know that a lot of Met fans were talking about Jeremy Barnes, about Eric Chavez, about the hitting coaches. We saw the season. We saw the team. It went 40. They were 45-24. but they weren't a good offensive really team when it comes to runners in scoring position. And there was talks about their approach. There was talks about their hitting approach. What was going on? What are these hitting coaches telling these guys? Why are these hitting coaches getting in people's heads? Now, you can talk about a situation between Eric Chavez and Francisco Alvarez. And after Francisco Alvarez had that season, I think it was a 20 home run season, Eric Chavez went to Francisco Alvarez and said, we want you to be a better hitter. We want you to be a guy that doesn't strike out a lot. We want you to be a better overall complete hitter. And I didn't have a real problem with that. But Francisco Alvarez changed his whole approach. He changed his whole approach. He went to the JD Martinez batting camp and tried to change his swing, tried to change his mechanics. And you saw in 2025, it didn't work. It didn't work. He went to AAA after he struggled for months. They had to set this guy down, Francisco Alvarez, because he was struggling so bad. So I think when it comes to the Mets, sometimes the hitting coaches get in the players' heads, and I feel like that's what happened with Francisco Alvarez. But this is a guy that Eric Chavez, to me, is a guy that, first of all, there was talks about him having a burner account and talking to fans and stuff like that, and the fans talking to him, and it being a back and forth thing. Look, I don't know what Eric Chavez is doing. I don't know what he was doing on social media or whatever, but I think when it comes to social media, you should not be having no burner account. You should not be talking to some kids or some Met fans and because people are trying to talk down on your name. People are trying to talk down on your name because you're not being productive. This team, the Mets, were one of the worst teams in runners in scoring position all year. So I'm not surprised that this happened. I'm not really surprised. But then there's another guy, Jeremy Barnes. And Jeremy Barnes is he's a co-hitting coach. And that's a guy that, to me, when you talk about what was going on in Jeremy Barnes and Eric Chavez, I feel like there just shouldn't be two hitting coaches. It shouldn't be two hitting coaches. And Eric Chavez is on record saying recently that the Mets maybe shouldn't have two hitting coaches. Maybe it's a little distracting for the players. So I think it is what it is, and the Mets just got to move on. And I feel like this is a move that the Mets needed to do. The Mets needed to make this move. They needed to make this move. So I'm glad that these guys, that Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes are gone, and hopefully they get a hitting coach that can really help these players out. Because I get it, the players have to execute. I understand. But when you see such a bad team with runners in scoring position, you see the horrible approach that they had all year. They couldn't get runners in scoring position. They just couldn't hit with runners in scoring position. So many big opportunities. This goes for Juan Soto, Lindor, so many players that just couldn't hit with runners in scoring position down the line. Brandon Nimmo, all these guys, a lot of these guys couldn't hit with runners in scoring position. So you could talk about the hitting coach or whatever, because to me, I think the hitting coaches are important, but I think the players have to execute at the end of the day. So I truly hope that whoever they hire as the hitting coach. Now, there's been talks about Manny Ramirez. There's been talks about Kevin Long, who's with the Phillies. When he's done with the Phillies, maybe the Mets could have interest in that. I don't know exactly who they would be interested in yet, because we have to wait a little bit to find out. But I think when it comes to the Mets got to get better. At the end of the day, the Mets got to get better. We got to get a better team. And this year, the coaching staff, it looked like there was a lot of distractions with Jeremy Hefner and Carlos Mendoza. It didn't look like there was a lot of communication. And that, to me, is something that a clubhouse and a team, they need, especially the management. So when it comes down to these guys are gone. These guys are gone. And it is what it is. Now the Mets move on. And yeah, we'll see, guys. The postseason is still going on right now. The ALDS is starting. The NLDS is starting. So yeah, guys, we got to wait a little bit more until after, obviously, the World Series for more news to happen. but this coaching staff news is definitely some news. But I'll keep you guys posted on more videos. I'll be doing more streams. I'll be doing a whole bunch of things. Thank you for watching the video. We really appreciate it. My name is Randy. You have just watched the Randy Talks Mets channel, where we talk Mets baseball, guys. Love you guys so much. LFGM for life. Have a good one.